Hey, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about Serena Williams. I want to talk about how her astrological chart reflects her journey to greatness. I can't imagine that you wouldn't know who Serena Williams is, but just in case you don't know who she is, Serena Jamaica Williams is an American former professional tennis player. Widely regarded as one of the greatest tennis players of all time, she was ranked world number one in singles by Women's Tennis Association for 319 weeks, including a joint record 186 consecutive weeks, and finished the year in number one 5 times. She won 23 Grand Slam women's singles titles, the most in the Open era, and the second most of all time. She's the only player to accomplish a career Golden Slam in both singles and doubles. Now, you may be able to tell that I'm not really a tennis buff. I'm not. I'll admit to that. However, you don't have to be a tennis buff to know who Serena and Venus who they are. You don't have to be really into tennis to know who they are. Everyone knows who Serena is. Everyone knows she's a top athlete who retired a couple of years ago. But I want to talk about the things that I saw in her chart and what I felt made her a success in the athletic field, as well as what led to her first Grand Slam that she won. So go ahead and starting. First thing I saw, it sticks out like a sore thumb, mainly because I don't usually see this in people's charts. I mean, there's some things you don't see that often. One of them for me is to see a number of planets in one spot. And that's basically what I saw in Serena's chart. There's 10 planets in every chart, right? Yours, mine, hers, right? And half of the planets in her chart are in her 6th house. So that means 5 of her planets are in their 6th house. And the 6th house rules work, health, diet, fitness. And it's a strong area of concentration for her, especially with half of her chart being there. Even the ruler of her midheaven or her career sector is in the 6th house. And that further brings home the point that that area was really important to her. Everything having to do with work and her focus. It took a lot of focus for her to get to where she was, and her chart shows that that's where a lot of her focus went, at least up until, like I said, a couple of years ago, where she got married and had a child. So that's where a lot of her energy went. That's where her focus went. She was dedicated to being a tennis pro and being the best that she could possibly be. So talking about when she won the Grand Slam, that year she had her solar return Mercury conjunct her solar return Sun in her solar return 5th. So in case you don't know, the 5th house is often associated with sports. It's associated with fun and dating and creative things. So I guess along the lines of creativity, sports is somewhere in there. But anything that you have fun doing, any type of play or something that you get enjoyment out of, that's a good place for the 5th house, for that subject to be in the 5th house. So that's where sports are. That's where her focus was. And when you consider that her 5th house is over her 6th house, which rules work, you can see how the sports was a source of work for her. Also, she had her solar return Pluto in her solar return 6th house over her natal 8th house. So for that, it's clear that Serena was very focused on her career and being the best. So Pluto here shouldn't be surprised to me. To me, it represents a person who's not willing to compromise. And since the 6th and the 8th house are here, she insists on overcoming her opponents and have a strong desire to win, which is something Serena was noted for, being determined to win. And I've noticed that whenever a planet is in the house it's ruling, it's a really important area. And so since Scorpio rules her solar return 6th and Pluto is here, that showed that was also a reason to expect that to be a focus for her. Now, last but not least, she also had her solar return DNA. Now, I haven't talked about this much, and I'll be honest with you about that. And just to give you a preface, DNA is basically an asteroid, and you have to put it on your chart to even see it. There's several of them. I don't recommend looking at all of them. That might just confuse you, especially if you're learning astrology. But when I researched DNA, it was more so focused on genealogy. And some people said that it can be pretty active or indicate having a child or something like that. For me, when I'm looking at it, and when I pull it up for the birth chart, and when I pull it up for the solar return chart, I saw something totally different. And that's just so you know, that's how I've learned many of the things that I've learned about astrology. When someone says something, I go research it. I go try it out on multiple charts. And I can tell you with the DNA asteroid, what I saw was it wasn't necessarily just about someone giving birth or having a child. A lot of times DNA would be active, and by active I mean it would be conjunct or really close to some, like a planet. It could be the birth chart, like a solar return DNA, or the birth chart DNA really close to a planet for the solar return chart. And usually I would see that if something was going on. So for me, the DNA seems to represent like major events or things that you should look for something to happen in that area, especially if you look at that house. If that DNA is conjunct something, that's like trying to say, hey, you should really look at this house because this house has something to say about what's about to go on with this person. So that's my preference about DNA. I know if you do some research, if you Google, even pull up AI, because a lot of times AI will pull up things from Google or different research, you're probably not going to see what I said. But I'm basing what I'm saying based on what I'm seeing when I look at people's charts, just to let you guys know. So solar return DNA was conjunct her natal Mars, the Mars of her birth chart, which goes back to what I was just explaining, seeing the solar return DNA conjunct a planet in the birth chart. And so for this, I would say this was more along the lines of since her Mars, so the solar return DNA and the natal Mars are in her solar return 3rd house, often related to news and particular topic. Like if something's about to happen, you hear something or you're about to say something. This is like a 3rd house area, or it could be about travel. But by way of her decan or decadent Jupiter, which you probably hear me say more about that. Both of these lead back to her solar return midheaven or her career, is suggesting positive news in this area. So since the MC or the midheaven is about the career, and the 3rd house, the solar return 3rd house, is connected to this DNA asteroid, that says something important was about to happen in her career. So those are just a handful of things I wanted to pick out about her, especially when it comes to her winning her first Grand Slam. Everybody's chart is different and everybody's chart has a lot to say, but I kind of wanted to narrow it down to just one thing in her life instead of picking out different wins that she had. Let me know if there's something else you'd like to know about Serena's chart. And maybe in a different episode, I can go over that. But in a nutshell, the biggest thing to get from this is that she is who she is, and she became who she became because that's where a lot of her energy went. And that was all of her focus. I don't think you'll find a lot of people like that. I looked at hundreds of charts and I don't see a lot of people that have most of their planets or half of their planets in one specific house. So that's just a testament of the type of focus that she had, the type of determination she had. And that's how she got to where she is. But you'll see someone else and maybe they don't have all of their, like half of their planets in one house. They succeeded in a different way. And so that's why I like reviewing different charts to get a feel for how people got to where they are. There's no one way to get there. So I hope you got something from this. If you have any questions, want me to talk about something else regarding Serena or maybe a different athlete you'd like to hear about, let me know in the comments and I will see you later.